news from Jay Carney. The president has called the shooting a very, very tragic accident, a very tragic event, excuse me. And apparently the president has said he feels enormous sympathy for the victims' families. Obviously that sympathy will grow exponentially over the next few hours as the details emerge and as we hear more about the victims.
This happened between 9 and 10 this morning, we understand, and you're right, my mistake, it's Newtown, Connecticut, which is near Danbury, and it's a shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, and as you say, the latest of several mass shootings this year. Horrific.
The FBI is supporting state law enforcement in the investigation. That's another thing that we should say. Obama himself was made aware of what had happened around 10:30 this morning by John Brennan, his counterterrorism and homeland security advisor. We're still waiting for news of the press conference to hear more.
And we haven't heard any, and we've heard that the death toll is now said to be 27. We don't know anything about any wounded people on top of that, which could of course make the death toll even worse and stuff. You're just getting some new news in now.
He was a 20-year-old man. We've just had that information in. Still no news as to his name or where he came from. A law enforcement official has said, though, has confirmed that he was a 20-year-old man. Okay, and apparently we have one of our streaming stories, which is what our reporters shoot out in the field, and we'll have that. We're going to have a look at that shortly as soon as we can get that uploaded. But that is from Connecticut, and we'll have that as soon as we can on this. This is the AP are reporting that.
Oh, here it is. Let's go. That's you can follow this story as it happens throughout the day. So do check that out.
This is the worst school shooting in the country's history, according to the AP.
So let's repeat that. Actually, this is a country that has a lot of shootings and with too much frequency, and this is the worst one ever.
So an official with knowledge of the shooting today at that Sandy Hook Elementary School has said, so far 27 dead, 18 of which were children. The worst school shooting in American history.
Wow. And yeah, well,
FBI investigation is, of course, underway, and these officials are wanting to speak under condition of anonymity because the investigation is still underway. And I suppose as we're waiting for more details to emerge, that will continue. So very graphic pictures there, very traumatic pictures of those kids being led out of school. I should point out that, as I said before, temperatures just hovering above freezing in Newtown, Connecticut. There's a point that kids obviously being whisked away from their school as quickly as possible, leaving everything behind as you would.
And I imagine the police are also involved in emergency first aid. I'd seen reports, and again, I haven't seen this on the AP, but I've seen reports that 100 rounds were shot. So it's quite possible that a lot of people could be wounded as well. So medical first aid is going to be the priority of the police and the emergency services, and the press conference will come only after that. I would suggest. That looks like we got some emergency service personnel on that live shot there.
Do we know any more, Simon, about how the gunman was killed? Did he turn the gun on himself, or was he shot by law enforcement officials?
I don't know. One would imagine that seems to be what's happened lately in a couple of shootings. It's like we've mentioned before. I mean, this is a very, very affluent area. I'm stunned. I'm stunned by this. Actually, I really am. It's just not something you expect this time of the year.
No, or really you don't expect it at any point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just horrible.
Newtown, part of Connecticut, is about 60 miles northeast of New York City. Our WSJ reporters are on their way to the scene. We'll have obviously more reports of this horrendous story as it breaks throughout the afternoon. And in this special edition of WSJ Live this lunchtime, we're trying to bring you as much information as we currently have. We're still waiting for that press conference in Newtown to learn a little bit more about the current state of play. But if you're just joining us, 27 dead in this school shooting, 18 of whom were children. Now,
you mentioned the gun control debate, which continues to rage on. I'm sure that it will be raised. I'm not sure that this will solve anything, but I'm also fairly certain that no politician is going to want to jump on that issue immediately, because it would seem to be taking advantage of what is a horrific situation.
Well, it did, of course, come up during the presidential election in November, that shooting in rural Colorado. I mean, unfortunately, this is not a narrative that we're not used to hearing in America. School shootings have been on the rise. This is just the latest in a spate, but it is, as I said earlier, according to AP, Associated Press, the worst school shooting in the country's history.
Wow, and those guys are obviously, that we saw just a moment ago, very heavily armed. There we got the emergency medical services, someone in a blanket on a, looks like a gurney there. This is all earlier footage. Police helicopter there, looks like to me. State troopers there from Connecticut.
And as you can see on the screen, we're still awaiting the police briefing on what's actually happened, but as the details are coming through, we are trying to bring you as much information as we can. I suppose that when the horror and the tragedy die down, Simon, when, I mean, for the residents of this town and for the children at that school, they will probably never ever be able to return to normal life. This will haunt them forever.
Well, I mean,
but the question is, you know, at what point do these questions start being raised? At what point?
Well, I mean, in this country, I mean,
how bad does it have to get?
I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, from its founding, this country has been a country where the right to bear arms has been absolutely enshrined, and people really hold that dear. In our country of birth, the UK, we had a big shooting, Hungerford massacre, where a man went on a rampage with some guns, and handguns were all banned immediately thereafter, completely. So it's just a very different attitude. I don't think that's going to happen here at all.
We're having reports coming in. There's apparently been a staging problem at the police press briefing, which is why it's being delayed for a few more minutes.